Coming into the 2021 season, there's a couple of different storylines that are taking the headlines. But there are some years that one story or person just absolutely steals the show and in many ways just makes the show about them. In the last 2 decades, no driver has jumped into the sport from another racing series and stolen the headlines quite like Danica Patrick. Patrick originally came to prominence in IndyCar racing.
Miles to go for Danica Patrick and the Motorola team. Could history be made at Twin Ring Motegi? Down the backstretch for one more time. Does she have enough fuel to get around the final 2 corners? Into turns 3 and 4. Danica Patrick coming out of 4. And boys, move over. The lady is coming through. Danica Patrick wins at Twin Ring Motegi.
But by 2010, the allure of NASCAR took her. She would sign with JR Motorsports to drive the number 7 GoDaddy machine part-time to start. Her first start would be actually in ARCA though at Daytona, and you would have thought that this was one of the biggest races on the planet the way that they covered it.
Piquet Jr. forces her down off the racetrack. Look at this ride through the grass she has.
I'll tell you, this right here is car control. Now that's something that you got it or you don't. And that's impressive right there to get that car that far out of shape, hang on to it, not hit the wall. Tony Jr. helped her a lot.
Later on in the Nationwide Series race at Daytona, it was even more insane. Crowds around her car were similar to that of like the Daytona 500. It didn't end well though.
Multiple car crash, including Danica Patrick among many others, here on the front straightaway.
To start out, her part-time deal in NASCAR really wasn't anything special. She constantly crashed or had beat-up sheet metal peppered across the landscape of the GoDaddy car. So much of the media ran defense for her more often than not, though. The Danica hype train was just as much driven by the media as it was by the fans, and that's how the Danica Mania really ramped up. It didn't matter if it were Fox or ESPN, they were gonna defend Danica at all costs. The only person from the get-go who called all of her problems out was Kyle Petty.
And this is what I've said from the very beginning. She is an incredibly talented driver. Can this be huge for her and for NASCAR? Yes, it can. Obviously, open wheel built what the sport it is right now off of her, because it was a floundering sport. And that's not a criticism of that sport or what they do, because the guys over there are incredible drivers too, but the sport was not growing like NASCAR was growing. So they took her and that marketing machine, the marketing machine that she is, and they went there. I agree with what Carl says. She was talking to people that saw her test. She was fast. Going fast and racing are 2 totally different things. That's like being a fastball pitcher or being a pitcher. Okay, there are pitchers out there. Carl's a driver. He can drive fast, but he can drive too. But there's guys that run Cup right now that are just fast, but they can't drive. Okay, and that's just blunt. Sorry. So I think when you look at Danica, I think she can come here. But I look at Franchitti, I look at Tony, when Tony first came over from open wheel to run the Busch car at the time. I look at Juan, and they are incredibly talented individuals. Juan Montoya is probably, car control-wise, is one of the most amazing human beings you've ever seen in a car. And he struggled for 3 years at this level before he got really where he could race. And she's not Juan Montoya. Sorry. And she's not Dario Franchitti. And she's not Tony Stewart.
Adding to the fact that the media was going to milk this cash cow for all it was worth, they even asked other drivers about her, as much as they possibly could. For years, she continued to gather this hype from her part-time driving in both NASCAR and IndyCar. But her results in each series matched one another due to underachieving and mediocrity. What was odd was that in NASCAR, she really was treated with kid gloves. For instance, at Las Vegas, Danica clearly caused a wreck with Michael McDowell, yet McDowell was the one apologizing. Much like Twitter today, he was afraid of being attacked by the mob. He didn't want to be run over by the hype train. And that train rolled right into 2012 when she went full-time in the Nationwide Series. And at this point, everything that she could do was perfect and good to the media. Even when she crashed, they would say how good she reacted to it. For instance, like the 2012 duels. But her inexperience showed, and it showed no worse than at Phoenix at the end of the year in Cup.
And Richard Childress Racing comes to a close at Phoenix. He slides to the finish line while they crash behind him. Keselowski threads the needle as cars crash to the checkered flag.
There was really no backlash for her staying on the track with oil pouring out of her car and causing a huge wreck that could have changed the championship battle for all she knew. Meanwhile, here's a similar kind of wreck that basically turned Kevin LePage into a meme. In my opinion, the reason that he was memed to death and Danica wasn't was due to Danica Mania and blatant media bias. And that all came to a peak in 2013 at the Daytona 500.
Stenhouse is Patrick's chief competition for Rookie of the Year honors this year. But there's more to that story. Yeah. They've been dating for the last several months. They've done an item, filled up the pages of all the local papers here on Valentine's Day.
Well, 46-42, that's quicker than what Tony Stewart ran on his first lap. And she should pick up about 5.5 to 6 tenths, which is going to put her in pretty good shape. And you can see right now on the tracker, that's where she's tracking.
She ran 45.86 yesterday. Based on what I've been seeing, there should be about a 10th improvement over yesterday. If that in fact is true, this is going to be a whale of a lap.
Mike, I know who else she's going to give some competition to this year on another award. I think that Sprint Cup Series Most Popular Driver Award that Dale Earnhardt Jr. pretty much has been a lock for the last few years.
Patrick started on the pole for the Nationwide race here last year, and she knocked the boss off the pole. Yes!
With Danica winning the Daytona 500 pole, now the mainstream airwaves were lit into this story. This meant that all the cultural normies would jump onto the Danica train not knowing anything about NASCAR. And to put it bluntly, this was the peak of her nearly decades-long NASCAR career. The same could be said about the overall race she ran. It was not that bad in the 2013 Daytona 500. She did stay up front and ran a fairly good race. And to her credit, she did make history in that race.
Number 11, Denny Hamlin, and number 20, Matt Kenseth.
I haven't heard cheering like this at this racetrack since Dale Jr. took the lead at one time or another. This is a really, really big deal.
We'll know in about a mile, can she become the first female to lead a lap in the Daytona 500?
Hamlin coming hard on the inside now with Kenseth. Under green, fans to their feet, to the line. She's done it.
At the end of the day, though, her inexperience in the draft showed as she was shuffled out from third position in the final lap. This was the pinnacle of Danica Mania. From this point on, she went from a driver who many said could usurp Dale Earnhardt Jr. as NASCAR's most popular driver to a driver mentioned in the same breath as Kyle Busch and Joey Logano when it comes to the loathing of the fan base. The more that NASCAR fans learned about her, the more that people fell away. To start with, many fans didn't like that much of her marketing to climb up the ladder was due to her sex appeal rather than her racing talent. Look at a GoDaddy commercial, for instance. Most of it has nothing to do with her being a driver. It has a lot to do with selling her body or just, in general, using the sex appeal of women. And it really didn't go well with a lot of female NASCAR fans. Basically, people were upset that she was going up the ladder due to sex appeal rather than a meritocracy. And I think that if articulated correctly, this is a valid argument. True meritocracy should be the name of the game in NASCAR, and in many ways, she went without truly earning her place in the sport. This was exposed fully through her continuous mistakes and crashes in her career. This became a common theme for most of her career. And to put this all in comparison, her teammate Kevin Harvick won the 2014 championship in the same exact equipment. This was a continuous trend throughout her career of running in the mid-20s in championship level equipment. She also was incredibly confrontational, and 2 of these instances kind of took her completely out of any of the love of the fans. This basically completely derailed Danica Mania.
Oh! No, I get it. That was rude. There was.
Since I'm old,
Sweetheart.
instead of taking the booing, what I want to tell you is, like, I do the very best I can.
Yes, you do.
I mean, if you're a real fan, you know that I'm not just like, my job is not to sign autographs, right? My job is to drive the car, to tell the crew chief what's going on. I don't appreciate the booing. You know what I mean? I'm a person too. I have feelings. When you boo me, it hurts my feelings. Okay? Please just be supportive fans. I'll do everything I can. When I came from over here, my car is over there. I only do so much. I have to get in the car. So just please understand that.
Okay, are you? No, like, I'm not at all. I feel absolutely horrible. I just don't understand. I just don't understand why so much bad luck happens. But besides that, I actually feel physically fine, and I was over there showing the doctor that my sprained ankle was just fine. And the laughter is merely just, what can I do but laugh about it? Like a rotor on a track we're braking with 200 pounds of brake pressure, 300 pounds of brake pressure. I mean, why? What else can I say? On the other hand, I was having a really good night, and that's what makes me the most mad, is that every time I'm doing better, something stupid happens, and it's just killing me. Like, I don't know any other way to say it.
The first clip I showed with the fans is one that you just gotta walk away from as a driver. I've learned from YouTube, you can't answer every hater's comment. It's what a lot of people want. And it showed that she has thin skin to a lot of people who would try and troll her now. And it showed that it was easy to get under that skin. The second one is a very grating instance for most fans. It was mostly all about her and complaining, and really, even if it's your favorite driver, you really don't want to hear them complaining constantly about themselves. This wouldn't be so bad, though, if Eric Almirola, who I will say she did mention for like 10 seconds, had not broken his back in this exact same accident. These events burned all of the goodwill and bridges that fans had tried to put towards her, and after 8 years of struggling to crack the top 25 on a weekly basis, the media hype was gone as well. They couldn't run defense for her anymore. She ran one final race in the 2018 Daytona 500, and it went like just about any other race she ran in NASCAR.
Elliott, slam into the wall.
Are you kidding me?
Danica Patrick, Casey Kane.
Oh, man.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, took the wind out of Chase Elliott.
Yeah, that was
Elliott, Kane, here's Danica Patrick.
And with that, her NASCAR career was over. An unfortunate legacy of crashes, frustration, and short fuses. With that, I want to hear from you. What do you remember about Danica's NASCAR career and Danica Mania? What will its legacy be, and what will her legacy be? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.
Danica Patrick and Landon Castle with an extended tangle.
Well, rule number one of stock car racing is learn how to wreck someone without wrecking yourself.